After Nutana, we'll start. It's already 11:30. Hello, Nutana?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we will start. It's already 11:32.
A very good morning to all the participants present here. I once again warmly welcome you all to the day 4 of the webinar series. A webinar on an Eco Week has been organized by our college, Padma Shri Institute of Management and Sciences, Bengaluru. It gives me an immense pleasure to introduce the resource person for today's session, Dr. Kulayasar. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah. Dr. Kulayasar has obtained his MSc in 1973 and he has completed his PhD in 1976 in the subject botany. He has done from Andhra University. He was a postdoctoral fellow at Moscow State University, Russia, during 1976 to 78. He traveled widely in Europe and visited universities and botanic gardens in about 17 countries. He joined Sri Krishna Devaraya University as a lecturer and became a professor. He held several positions in the university as Dean, Faculty of Life Sciences, head of the Department of Botany, Chairman, Board of Studies in Botany, etc. He retired from active services in 2011 and was selected by UGC as UGC BSR Faculty Fellowship in the Department of Botany under the University Sri Krishna Devaraya University. He has published 75 books and 330 research papers and 35 popular articles. His books have been published by reputed international publishers like Elsevier, Springer, CRC Press, Taylor and Francis, Apple Academic Press, etc. He was a principal investigator for 20 major research projects, totaling more than 3 crore of rupees, which are funded by AP Netherlands biotech programs, DBT, DST, CSIR, UGC, GCC, etc. Under his guidance, 54 students have obtained their PhD degrees and 34 students their MPhil degrees. He's the recipient of many awards, the recipient of Best Teacher Award from Government of Andhra Pradesh, and Professor P. Maheshwari Gold Medal he received, and Professor P.C. Trivedi Medal for Editorial Excellence, and Dr. G. Panigrahi Memorial Award of Indian Botanical Society, and Professor Y.D. Tyagi Gold Medal of the Indian Association for Angiosperm Taxonomy. His list goes on. He was a president of Indian Association for Angiosperm Taxonomy and the president of Indian Botanical Society. He was a member of Species Survival Commission of International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. Now, I request Kulayasar to kindly present his talk on biodiversity and conservation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Nutana. Yeah, all those who are hearing, please mute your microphones, please. All those who are, please mute all your microphones, please. Right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anuradha, Dr. Indu, Dr. Nutana Grace, and other teachers from Padma Shri Institute of Management and Sciences. It gives me immense pleasure to talk on this topic, which is of favorite, where I have this lecture I have given out for almost nearly 1,000 institutions. Right, next slide, please. Indu, I'll say next, you say it. Go to the next slide, please. Dr. Indu. Yeah, next one, please.
Yes, sir. 1 second, sir. It is not moving. I'm trying.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time because it is pixels are more. It takes quite some time.
But that time it went.
Yeah.
I'll stop share and once again I'll share, sir.
Yeah, okay, no problem, no problem.
That time it moved.
Yeah, let me come. Yeah, it's okay, no problem. 5th June. Perhaps many of you may be knowing, why that particular day is. Yeah, that is okay. Second one. Yes.
It's
Go to second one.
Environmental Day, sir.
Yes, World Environment Day. But why only 5th June was declared as World Environment Day? Perhaps you may not be knowing. Yeah. Yes, the first United Nations Conference on Environment Development was held in Stockholm. Remember, 5th June to 16th June in 1972. Please remember, I didn't tell here year. It is 1972 in Stockholm. In Stockholm, where only 2 heads of governments have participated. One is Olof Palme of Sweden and Prime Minister Indira Gandhi of India in this conference. Remember, that day was declared by United Nations as World Environment Day. Remember, only 2 heads of governments participated and India is one of them. Next slide, please. So that day was declared by United Nations as World Environment Day. What have they discussed at this United Nations conference, which was held? Yeah, second conference was held in 1982 in Kenya, in Nairobi, and that place is now declared as United Nations Environment Program headquarters in Nairobi in Kenya, where 40 heads of governments have participated. The third conference, remember, once again in June 5th, the third conference, United Conference on Environment Development, was held from 3rd to 14th June in Rio de Janeiro. Please remember this place. Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 1992. Please remember, 1992, where 176 countries participated and 120 heads of governments. Remember, first conference only 2, second conference 40. By the third conference, 120 heads of governments have participated. What have they discussed? Next slide, please. What have they discussed? This is called as at summit. This at summit, they discussed 3 things: climate convention, biodiversity convention, that is called as CBD, or conventional biological diversity, and global environmental facility. Well, I'm not going to all the 3. I'll go only to biological diversity, conventional biological diversity. Biological diversity, this convention was signed by 156 countries plus European Union. But some countries like USA has not signed even now also. Please remember. Right. Next slide, please. What is then this biodiversity? Biodiversity is variety, variability, and in the systems in which the organisms live is called as biodiversity. I repeat, variety, variability, and the systems in which organisms live is called as biodiversity. Variety stands for species diversity. Variability stands for genetic diversity. System diversity called as ecosystem diversity. So let me talk about these 3 things. Number 1, species diversity. How many species are there on planet Earth? See at the bottom, it is only guess estimate in 1992. Estimate only. It is not proven. There are at least 33.5 million species. This is guess estimate. Some people say it is only 10 million. Some people say 100 million. Whereas this total of 33.5 million is by the experts of World Bank, and experts from ecosystem diversity and other people have assessed, and they said of the 33.5 million, you can see in the right hand corner, 4% only have been identified. Remember, please remember, 4%, that is 1.39 million have been identified, whereas the other 96% have been not identified. So how many are there? For example, mammals and reptiles, 50,000, 95% have been identified. Birds, 9,200, 98% have been identified because they are huge animals. Fish, out of 21,000, 90,000, 90% have been identified. Plants, which I am specialist, out of 2,80,000, this is in 1992, they said 3,22,000, but now it has come to almost 3,60,000. Whereas insects, which is 30 million, imagine here, insects, 30 million. Of this 30 million, only 7,51,000 have been identified. That means only mere 3% of insects have been identified. You are talking about Apis dorsata, the honeybee. It's only one species. There are 30 million species. You do not know about its use. Other invertebrates and microorganisms, 3 million, of which only 2,76,000, that is 9%, have been identified. Total only 4% have been identified. That means we do not, what is there in our house, what is there on our planet Earth, only 4% is known, 96% is not known. Next slide, please. So where are these species? Next slide, please. Yeah, go to the next slide. Where are these species? Tropical, yeah, you can see the beauty of the orchids. This is Paphiopalladium duri, lady slipper orchid. Next one, please. I just wanted to show the beauty of the nature. Next one, please. Yeah, it takes time. Yeah, where are these forests? 1700 million hectares of tropical forests. Remember here, 1700 million hectares of tropical forests cover only 7% land area. But remember, they harbor more than 50% of the species. Area is only 7%, but harbor 50% of the species. For example, India area is only 2.4%. I repeat, India is only 2.4% of land area, but has nearly 11% of the species. Remember, for example, a 15-hectare patch in Brunei, I repeat, 15-hectare patch has more than 700 odd species. I'm not talking about of trees. I'm not talking 700 trees. It is 700 tree species. Your neem is one species, banyan is another species, tamarind is another species, ficus, other species are there. So if you count like that species, 700, whereas whole of North America, I repeat, all of North America, north of Mexico, that is USA, Canada, Alaska, put together have less than 700 species. Remember, area, you can imagine how much area. Whereas a Karnataka state has more than 1100 tree species in just one Karnataka state, whereas Andhra Pradesh has nearly 800 species. Whereas a 15-hectare patch, Western Ghats, each district has more than 700 tree species. That is the irony of it. Right, next one. What are we doing? Next slide, please. We are cutting down these forests mercilessly, 7% I told you. Next slide, please. We are cutting down the forest mercilessly. At what rate? We are cutting down at the rate of, next slide, please, Indu. We are cutting down the forest at the rate of, yeah, oh, you can see this. The largest flower. I was in Missouri Botanical Garden a few years back when this plant flowered. This is the largest, Amorphophallus titanum. It's almost 12 feet height. Well, by the time I visited, and already you can see at the top. Yes, okay, that's fine. So what are we doing? We are cutting down the forest mercilessly. At what rate? Every year we are cutting down at the rate of 12 million hectares. Please remember, this is 1980s. In Brazil, they are cutting down at the rate of 8 million hectares. India, we are cutting down at the rate of 1.5 million hectares every year. That means every 5 years, we are cutting down forests of the size of Haryana. Mercilessly. This is 1980s. But this went in 1990s. It went to 17 million hectares. Imagine 12 million hectares to 17 million hectares. We are losing forests at the rate which we can't even imagine at the such fast rate. Next slide, please. So what is the result? The result, yeah, this is cutting down the forest. This is Podu cultivation in Visakhapatnam district, which I visited. The tribals cut down the forest. They grow the trees crops for a few years. They move on to another area. This is called as Jum cultivation, shifting cultivation, or Podu cultivation. Next one, please. So this way, this is only tribals I am talking. Illegal and legal, you know about Veerappan, the smuggling king of Santalam album. Next one, please. Next slide, please. So point is, we are cutting down with the, yeah. If you lose, you may use new species. For example, I told you there are 4,80,000 plant species, of which only 3,60,000 have been identified. 1,20,000 have not been identified. Several of researchers are finding. Some of my students describe new species, and they named one species as Brachystelma pullayi on my name. This is Brachystelma pullayi. It is a Asclepiaceae member, and it grows in Nalamalais. Next slide, please. So like that, there are many new species. This is another species called as, once again, Sirapegia pullayi. This Raja Kulayaswamy is in Indian Institute of Science. And this is species also once again in Anantapur district. Next slide, please. So like this, there are many new species. I'll show you, Brachystelma ligiliana, which we described from once again from Anantapur district. You can see the variety of you can see the tubers. You can see the inflorescence, the variation of the inflorescence. Next slide, please. It is very difficult to find this plant. We described another new species called as Dimorphocalyx carnolensis venkatrazu et pullaya. This is a male plant which we described from Kurnool district in Anantapur. Next slide, please. This is a male plant and this is a female plant. This is a member of Asclepiadaceae, which we described from Kurnool district in Andhra Pradesh. Next one, please. So there are many, yeah. This is another species, Dipkyridae Krishnadevaraye. Right behind our botanical institute, our botanical garden has this plant, and we thought first it is Dipkyridae montana, but later on we found that this is a new species. Right, so what I mean is to say that there are many new species which are being described of late. Next one, please. Next slide. So point is that in tropical countries, yeah, this is Cycas shesha chalamensis. This Cycas bedoma is there, endemic to Shesha chalamensis in Papua New Guinea, etc. But this is a different species called as Cycas shesha chalamensis. It is a gymnosperm. You can see the male cone. This is a male cone and this is female cone. You can see the these seeds of this particular. Next one, please. So there it is being described of late. Yeah. Right now the point is plants are disappearing. This is a plant called as Cyathea spinosa or Alsophila spinulosa. This is a tree fern. You can see this plant is almost 2 meters tall and leaf is almost 1.5 meters long. Please remember, you can find if you go to Kodaikanal from Silver Cascade down, you can find plenty of these trees. But in Andhra Pradesh, this plant is available only in Vishakhapatnam and other places where now they are starting mining of aluminum, that is bauxite. So what happens is after a few years, you may lose this species. The point is mining is going on in the place where this plant occurs, and these plants are disappearing. Cyathea spinosa, Cyathea gigantea, yeah. Well, this is surprising that we do not know much of bryophytes. At least Karnataka has some people have done much work. But Andhra Pradesh, when we started working about 10 years back, we shocked to know that there is not even a single research paper on bryophytes of Andhra Pradesh. Not even a single paper, not even a single reference. Only Professor Seshagir Rao in his Flora of East Godavari district, he described 12 archaic bryophytes. And we were started to show that nobody has taken interest in we always teach only Anexia, Marcantia, etc. And then Polytrichum funerea. This is Bryum capillare. Remember this. If the capsule is down, it is one species. Horizontal is another species. Remember, pointing upwards is another species. This is Bryum capillare. Next one, please. This is bryophytes of Andhra Pradesh. We have worked. Next slide, please. At least we described 100 and odd species of bryophytes. Next, Indu, please. And our students are, yeah, you can see 95 taxa, 94 species, 67 genera, 33 families in Andhra Pradesh alone. But our students continued working on this, and they say that there are more than 200 species now. Next slide, please. These are you can see the capsule pointing up. Yeah, you can see the talophytes of you can see that sporophyte. This is a gametophyte and this is a sporophyte. This is capsules. Next one, please. These are what I'm talking is, you can see this Exarmotheca silenensis. You can see the capsules. You can see the thallus. This is a gametophyte and this is a bryophyte. This is a sporophyte. I'm sorry. Exarmotheca silenensis. Well, we do not know about what are the genera. You can see that. You can see my palm. This is a small plant. You can see that these are the fingers. By showing these fingers, you can find out how much size it is. We have great difficulty. We could collect this particular plant because in water flowing only. Next slide, please. What I'm talking is, I want to show you. Yes, you can see once again. Male. This is male receptacle. This is once again Demarchiera hirsuta. You can see this. You can see the receptacles. Here also receptacles, male receptacles. So here, thalloid. This liverworts. Next one, please. I just wanted to, you can see this Anura pinguis. You can see my palm, and this is a sporophyte. This is a sporophyte. You can see this. This is a thalloid, liverwort. Next one, please. Anura pinguis. Next slide, please. So what I am talking here is, it is where you are sitting on a gold mine. For example, Karnataka. Next slide, please, Indu. Karnataka is one of the richest in biodiversity. For example, the Western Ghats. Western Ghats and Sri Lanka is one of the 36 biodiversity hotspots. Next slide, please. One of the 36 biodiversity hotspots, and they have at least 5,000 species in Western Ghats, of which 2,000 species are endemic. Next one, please. Next, yeah. You can see this. This is Anthoceras. You can see how you are studied about sporophyte of Anthoceras, which continuously grows. This is Anthoceras crispus. You can see the size of this particular thing by seeing the form. So this is Anthoceras liverwort. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, it takes a little time. Yeah, you can see the Bryum. This is coronatum. The other one which I have shown is capillary. There are different species of Bryum, at least 6 species in Andhra Pradesh and many more in Karnataka. Next one, please. This is bryophytes. I just wanted to show you diversity of the species. Don't say that plants only means, it's only trees or shrubs like neem, Azaracta, indica. Next one, please. So these are the bryophytes, like that, you have pteridophytes, bryophytes, angiosperms, gymnosperms, which are, well, you do not know about, say, once you know inventory of these particular plants. Next one, please. Inventory of these particular plants, you can know its use later on. Once you lose a species, for example, if you lose one species, it's, for example, imagine Penicillium notatum is not known, and if it's lost, well, you must have lose lowland penicillin. Next slide, please, Indu. So point is that this have to be inventorized. Then you start on bioprospecting. Next slide, Indu. Yes, right. Now let me come back to another point. So I've shown some photographs of the plants, which are the places which are rich in biodiversity. Look here. I'm talking about angiosperms only, that is flowering plants. Brazil, 55,000 species. Colombia, 45. Ecuador, 29. China, 27. Mexico, 25. Australia, 23. South Africa, 21. Remember, India is in 11th position with 18,000 species. Well, that 17,000 has been updated. Point is, none of the G8 countries, no USA, no Canada, no UK, no Germany, no Japan, none of the G8 countries here. Please remember. So we are rich in biodiversity. But this, when you talk about this, for example, I told you, India is only 2.4% area, but it has nearly 11% of the species. Next one, please. Next slide. So these countries, all these countries are rich in biodiversity, but poor in, especially in their income. What is why? Why? Let me come back to one story before it comes to next slide. Next slide, please. Point is, this biodiversity of these developing countries, they call it as developing countries. Yeah, right. Let me show you there here comparative. India has Protista 3,500, world 31,000. Mollusca, you can see there the percentage also 11%. Mollusca 7%. Arthropoda insects 68,000 have been identified. This is identified only, I'm talking 9 lakh. Whereas other invertebrates, 8,000. Procardata 119. So you can see there here the percentage of India, the mammals, because they are big animals, they have been identified quite accurately. So this is about 8%, whereas aves, birds, 13% are there. So point is, India is rich comparatively. You can see there, I told you only 2.4%, but many of us here are 11 to 13%. Next one, please. Similarly, when you come to plants, right? Yeah, you can see there, which I am specialist. Bacteria 850. Well, viruses, we have to document. Algae 8,900. Imagine. Whereas fungi 27,000 of 90. Lichens, we know only fruticose lichens and fructose lichens. Nobody worked on this particular. Biophyta 2,700 out of 14,000. Pteridophyta similarly out of 12,000. So here you can see there. What I'm talking here is percentages. You can see it's only 4.25. Angiosperms. Well, now it is now documented as at nearly, including some of the cultivated plants, 21,000, but wild plants about 18,000. Rulac 66,000 have been identified so far in the world. That is nearly 7.1%, 7%. So what I'm talking is India is rich in biodiversity. Right, next slide, please. Yes. Now let me talk, why, sir, you are saying so much biodiversity. What is the use of this particular biodiversity? Let me come back to one point. Man was a hunter. Later on, he was a gatherer. Then he started, when he came to know that the plants are useful, he started cultivating. So plants which you are cultivating now were once earlier as are wild plants. So wild plants are brought and then cultivated, and these include, for example, 167 crop species have originated in India. rice, sugarcane, minor millets. Whereas whole of USA, I repeat, whole of USA has given to mankind only one crop species, that is sunflower Helianthus annuus. I repeat, whole of USA has given to mankind only one species, Helianthus annuus, whereas India has given to mankind 167 crop species. Here listed: rice, sugarcane, minor millets, PGNP, your dal, brassicas, rice bean, Asiatic beans, brinjal. There are the number of varieties of brinjal in India are more than anywhere in the world. Similarly, banana. You can see banana in Western Ghats. For example, if you go from Hubli to Goa, you find wild bananas. Similarly, citrus are wild in Northeast India. I'm not talking about cultivated. I'm talking about wild. Similarly, mango is wild. Cardamom is also some places wild. So all these fruit, jackfruit is wild. Jute was once wild, but now it is being cultivated. So all these are once. Even now also, there are 320 wild relatives of crop plants in India, which are useful for breeding. I'll give you one example of these wild relatives of crop plants. For example, 160,000 hectares of rice crop was destroyed by a disease called as grass-resistant virus. Resistant gene came from a plant called as Oryza nivara, which was grown by the tribals in central Madhya Pradesh. Remember, the International Rice Research Institute in Manila took this variety, they bred with the local variety and developed a variety which is resistant to rice blast disease. Rich farmers in Southeast Asia got a benefit from this Oryza nivara, which is being grown in central Madhya Pradesh, but the tribals have got nothing. Convention of Biological Diversity says that from wherever you get this origin of the biological material, that people should get a share. That country should get a share. I'll give you one more example. BT cotton, you must be knowing. BT cotton, you know, Bacillus thuringiensis. Monsanto has transferred BT cotton, BT gene, that is Bacillus thuringiensis scry gene, from Bacillus thuringiensis to cotton, so that you need not spend 4,000 rupees on insecticides per acre. Remember, you may not be knowing that where from this they got this Bacillus thuringiensis. Monsanto took the black cotton soils from Mahanandi in Kurnool district in Andhra Pradesh. It's a Shiva temple is here. They took the black cotton soils to America, they cultured and they got the Bacillus thuringiensis where they could identify the cry gene. They transferred the cry gene from Mahanandi Panchayat, applied for Monsanto, saying that, you know, it is our property, so it is our biological material which you have taken and transferred, and at least pay 1% royalty on your share, 1% share of your profit. If Monsanto has to pay 1% share of their profits, they have to pay 4 crores every year. I repeat, 4 crores every year. But Monsanto, is it paying? They said no, because USA has not signed Biodiversity Treaty. I can go on reeling out examples like this plenty. Next one, please. Next slide. So point is that property is once, and you know its benefit is for somebody else. Next slide, please. I'll give you one example, another example also. Like, you know, you must be knowing about Ongol bull. There is a bull called as a, yes, next slide, Indu. Ongol bull. Brazil has imported Ongol bull to Brazil. They bred with the local variety and they sold billions of dollars of beef to America. Remember, one variety, Ongol bull, it costs lakhs of rupees in India. Next slide, Indu. But in Brazil, each variety, each bull is 5 crores rupees. Remember, I was talking about wild relatives of crop plants. Here, in a few examples I have done from Andhra Pradesh. Kejana is your dal plant called as your moong dal. So this is Kejanus kejanifolius, Kejanus albicans, Kejanus crassus, Kejanus rugosus, Kejanus carabaeus. All these are, they grow naturally, wild in the forest. Whereas sativa is a rice crop. But remember, in India, Oryza, Andhra Pradesh, I'm here talking, Oryza Mariana, Officinalis, Rufi Pogon, Oryza correctata grow in Andhra Pradesh. Similarly, in Western Ghats in Kerala, many wild. For example, remember here, Malampujensis. This is resistant to rice blast disease. You can see there, remember. Whereas Piper, plenty in Western Ghats. So what I am talking is wild varieties of crop plants. Next slide, please. Wild varieties of crop plants, they are resistant to diseases crop plants. Remember, so tomorrow, if you believe it or not, India was producing food grains in 1966, 16 million tons only. I repeat, 96, we had to import, there was a famine. India has to import 2 million tons of food grains in 1966. Remember, then, the Green Revolution was introduced by Indira Gandhi, C. Subramanian, Agriculture Minister, and M.S. Swaminathan, and they revolutionized. India is now producing, remember, 1966, we were producing only 60 million tons. Last year, we produced 260 million tons of food grains. This is because of Green Revolution. Because of the Green Revolution. Thanks for Swaminathan, etc. They revolutionized. We were producing only 3 million tons of wheat. Now we are producing nearly 80 to 100 million tons of wheat in India. Point is, but where from this come? High yielding varieties. For example, rice and wheat. They introduced dwarf varieties. They revolutionized the whole production. High yielding varieties. More tillers. But remember here, there are 105,000 varieties of rice in the world, of which 50,000 varieties of rice are there in India alone. Are they? Remember, that is what is called as germplasm. This is germplasm holdings. USA has the best germplasm bank in the world. They have taken germplasm from all over the world and they are stored. Whereas India has, of course, they have now realized the importance. They started collecting. In India, rice varieties, 50,000 rice varieties are there. Similarly, in wheat, there are 80,000 varieties are there. Similarly, in maize, there are 40,000 varieties. I'm talking about genetic diversity. Each variety has its own resources. For example, it may be resistant to disease, a particular disease, or a pest, or high yielding, or nutritional quality, etc. So it has to be. So let me give you one example. For example, golden rice. They transferred gene, beta carotene gene from narcissus, pseudo-narcissus, daffodils. They transferred beta carotene gene from narcissus, pseudo-narcissus, the daffodils, to rice, where you can get beta carotene, that is vitamin A, from rice grain itself. So point is, each gene is worth $1 billion. Each gene is $1 billion business. So that means USA has stored all their germplasm in the world, and tomorrow they will develop a new variety and they will say each is $1 million variety. So point is that we have to overcome all these problems and you have to collect germplasm. But before, when the Green Revolution was introduced in high yielding varieties, the traditional varieties are lost. And we have to now once again recollect all of them. Next one, please. Next slide. So what I am talking here is these are the crop wild relatives. Millets, there are 51 species, fruits 104, spices and condiments. What I am talking is there are wild relatives which grow wild in the forest. If you cut down the forest, the wild plants will go. Once you lose wild plant resources, then your breeding resources, genetic resources comes down. So point is that you have to preserve. When I talk about this forest, let me come back to another point. Well, for sustainable agriculture, sustainability, the conference, Padma Shri Institute talked about this conference or this lectures as sustainable. For sustainable agriculture, you should have rainfall normally. You should have 33% of area should be under forest for sustainable agriculture. Well, in 1980s, when I was a lecturer, I asked my conservator, how much area is under forest? He has taken over the records and he said 24.7% area is under forest in India. But in 1990s, India has sent satellites to space and they took the photographs, infrared photographs, and they found that only 11.9% area is under forest cover. I'm not talking about area. 40% recover, only 11.9% area. That means agriculture is not now sustainable. At least we have 12% forest cover, but whole of United Kingdom, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales put together has not even a single acre of natural forest. You may ask me then, how they get timber. They are using social forestry and farm forestry. I'm not talking about natural forestry. Natural forest is not there in the whole of United Kingdom, whereas whole of France, they have less than 100 acres of natural forest. Imagine. Whereas country like Congo, more than 80 to 90% of forest area is under forest. So point is, Western people say that you preserve a forest, but who will pay for it? They have already destroyed and they are developing, in a different way, where they ask us to protect. For example, Amazon is dwindling. Australian forests are bushfire, so they are burning. As American forests are burning, they say protect, but who will pay for it? We are providing oxygen to the world, but not nobody pays for us. So there is a point. So like that, wild varieties are there in developing countries, but developed countries are getting benefit out of this. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Whereas poor countries, they are not getting any. Next slide, please. Poor countries are not getting any benefit. So point is that Western countries, next slide, Bindu, Western countries should pay for it, because already, for example, oxygen. In India, each person consumes 0.2 tons per person, whereas USA, they consume 7 liters of petroleum or equivalent to it. Next slide, please. Next slide, Indu. Yes. Well, I was telling you about breed. I talked about wild relatives of plants. Well, breeds of domesticated animals, for example, cattle. I told you. Well, there are some breeds. For example, Punganuru. There is there near Chittoor district, in Chittoor district, near Bangalore. Puttur. A Puttur cow. Remember, in a milk of cows, you get only 3 to 5% of fat. But Punganuru, there is a Punganuru. Sorry, not Puttur. Punganuru cows has 8% of fat. Imagine. But that cow gives less yield of milk. So all farmers sold their cows and they went for high yielding varieties. With the result, there are only 700 Punganuru cows now, yielding 8% of fat. That's the highest. You get in normal cows only 3%. But so what I'm talking here is varieties of breeds of cattle in India. Cattle 27 varieties, sheep 40 varieties, goats 22 varieties. Like that, you have several varieties in India. Poultry 18 varieties. Next slide, please. So what I'm talking is each variety is useful in different ways. For example, if you want more milk yield and more ghee, then you have to breed with Punganuru cows. Then only, next one, please. So these wild relatives, Oh, let me tell you another story. This I always tell to all my students. Biodiversity. How people Western biopiracy, remember? Well, my mother uses her face, turmeric. I asked her what for. It is for antiseptic, she says. Well, the Western, next slide, please. Then I asked, who told you? Turmeric patent was granted in 1995 to researchers Soman K. Das and Arinder Kohli of Mississippi Medical Center. All of USA, you don't get turmeric at all. Even if you search with your lens, you don't get. 6 patent claims were covered for oral and topical use. Indian government says it is a people's knowledge. The people's knowledge cannot be patented, and Indian government has to spend at least in 1995 1 crore of rupees to revoke this patent. Remember, 1 crore, and the lawyer's fees itself was $15,000 in 1995. Point is, people's knowledge cannot be patented, but people are taking information from India and they are patenting in the Western countries. This is a classical case of biopiracy, and that one such patent is on antiseptic property. Second one is surgical wounds. Third patent is on oral use. That is, if you get cold and cough, what does your mother? Your mother boils milk, puts turmeric powder in it, and then gives to you. Your cold and cough goes. So point is, this is a knowledge, people's knowledge. Everybody in India knows it, but Westerners, they patented it. Next slide, please. So what I'm talking is tropical countries. Yes, this is another classic case of biopiracy. This is the name Azadirachta indica. Well, when I get in my child, next slide, please. Got chicken pox in my childhood. Everybody knows it that my grandmother brought leaves of this, made paste of these particular leaves, and removed all my clothes, and then put all over my body this particular neem paste. She also asked me to swallow a pinch of this paste. Next slide, please. So this is everybody's But patent was granted in 1994 by US Department of Agriculture to W.R. Grace Company. Well, they say that India cannot now use this neem for insecticidal property. They filed a case in Supreme Court saying that you cannot use this particular insecticidal properties. So because we have already taken patent, Indian government once again has to spend crores of rupees to revoke this European patent and US patent. So point is, our own property. Why this has not been you may ask me why such patent has been second, because there is not documentation. So those who are listening to me, please remember that please document whatever that information that is there on biodiversity of your area or my area or wherever. What is its use, how it is used, what is methodology, what is dosage, in which form, etc. has to be documented, so that tomorrow somebody in West, they will not take patent. So remember when 1982, Pseudomonas putida Ananda Chakravarti has taken a patent. Since then, now all genes and then organisms can be patented. Genes can be patented. Products and process, not only products and process, other things also can be patented. Next one, please. So this is one of the major biopiracy. Next one, please. This convention of biological diversity I was telling you in 1992 at summit. Next slide, please. Biodiversity. Convention of biological diversity says that from wherever country, whichever country you take, that country should get a share. Next slide, please. That country should get a share, and that people should get a share. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Indu. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, this is another plant called as Buin Amla or Nail in Telugu. It is Phyllanthus amaris. It is being used in India and China for almost 3,000 years. Believe it or not, 3,000 years in China, 4,000 years for jaundice. There is no medicine in allopathy, and they once again patented Leaf 52. Comes from this plant called as Bui Amla. It is being patented. It is a people's knowledge. It cannot be patented, but they patented. Bloomberg company patented this, saying that they found this medicine for jaundice, hepatitis B, Leaf 52, and it comes from a plant called as Phyllanthus amaris. Next one, please. Next slide. So point is, plants which are available or organisms which are available in developing countries is being patented from the Europeans and Americans, and they are getting the big benefits, crores of rupees, hundreds of crores of rupees. Next slide, please. This one, I can go on and reeling out such examples that may not go more. Yeah, this is the plant, Bui Amlaki, which is used for jaundice. It is a small herb of few centimeters only. Next one, please. It's common in India and then China. Yeah. Oh, let me come back to another plant. This is a plant called as Vinca rosea or Catharanthus roseus. Well, before 1985, there was no medicine for leukemia. There was no medicine. They found a medicine in 1985. This plant called as Catharanthus roseus, vincristine vinblastine. Is an alkaloid. National Institute of Washington in Cancer in Washington, they screened 29,000 species. They could not find an alternative for this plant. And 29,000 species they could find only in this plant called as vincristine vinblastine, which is medicine for leukemia or Hodgkin's disease. And this plant has 130 alkaloids. Believe it or not, 130 alkaloids. And this is not, of course, this is not Indian plant. It is a Madagascar. It is called as Madagascar Periwinkle. It has both white flowers. You can see there both white flowers, pink flowers, and red flowers also. Of course, it is an ornamentally grown, but now it has been cultivated also. Next one, please. India earns more than $10 lakh every year by cultivating it. What I'm talking is, so each 29,000 species they screened, but they could not find an alternative. Right, next one, please. Similarly, paclitaxel. I'll come back to that point later. Yeah, next slide, please. Paclitaxel. Yeah, oh. Let me come back to another story. Scientists from TPGRI, led by Pushpangathan, they went for collection in forests in Kerala. Well, whenever I go to the forest for plant collection, I take the help of tribal people. But remember, when Pushpangathan and the scientists went for field, by evening they were tired, but the tribals were not tired. They wondered what happened. Next slide, please. Then they asked, the tribals did not tell, but they gave the benefits from the government, like subsidies and then rations, etc. And after 3-4 visits, next slide, please. After 3-4 visits, they could convince the tribal people what is the, yeah, this is a plant, the Trichopas gelanicus of the Dioscoriaceae. Next slide, please. They could convince the tribal people saying that they are eating fruits and leaves of this particular plant and they are not getting fatigued. So TBGRI, Tropical Botanical Garden Research Institute, patented this anti-fatigue compound from this plant called as Jivani, and they sold it company saying that, so they made agreement 50% for production and then distribution. They benefit share profit 20% to the scientists, 30% to the tribal people. CBD, let me go back to 1990. CBD says from wherever you get source, that source people should get benefit. So tribals of Kani tribes, next one please. Next slide please. Kani tribes of Kerala, they got the benefit. Next slide please. So point is, what I'm talking is, whatever biodiversity that you are using for the benefit of the mankind and then companies are getting a benefit, profit, that should be shared, that is CBD. But America has said, they will not sign. Next slide, please. So this is one such plant example. In Coimbatore company is producing this Aragya Jivani anti-fatigue compound. 20% share to the scientists, 30% share to the tribal people, and 50% because company is producing. Next slide, please. So what I am talking here is, next slide, please. Yeah, these are the tribes, Kani tribes. They collect this plant and then they use it, for their anti-fatigue, so that they will not tired. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, go on. So these people, this is a people's knowledge. Like that, that is what is called as ethnobotany or ethnomedicine, etc. There is a lot of information, in India. Almost, there are at least 1 million people, especially Gonds, Chenchus, Irulas, many people tribal. This is Kani tribe in Kerala. Next slide, please. And this is called as Aragya in their language in Kottur forest in Kerala, in southern Kerala, Western Ghats. Next slide, please. So the tribals got benefit by, yeah. Oh, let me come back to another story of another plant. Well, of late, people say that, they are becoming obese. Western countries, especially USA and European, the major problem of is diabetes and obesity. It's a major problem. So they are going for zero size. Perhaps many of you are wondering, zero size because they should not have tummy. So companies are searching for it, anti-obesity plants. This is a plant called as Keralima ascendens variety fimbriata or Keralima fimbriata. Next slide, please. This plant, when I started working on Keralimas, we wrote a book also, Keralima anti-obesity plants. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Then, companies from Bangalore landed in Anantapur saying, where is this plant? A person came all the way from Israel asking me, where is this plant in India? It is there. This plant is there. Next slide, please. Is there in the Deccan, for example, in Kolar, Tumkur, Anantapur, Karnool, dry Ballari, and then up to whole Deccan, dry areas of this Deccan, and is actually, when you chew it, it suppresses hunger. Whereas your adipose tissue, that is fat tissue, is utilized and it suppresses hunger. You don't feel hunger, and then your fat burns. So there is a point. So it is anti-obesogenic. Next slide, please. Next slide, Indu. So this plant is called as you can see there, Slima luma. Remember, it is Slima luma. It is nothing but is risk-free also. They say it is Slima luma, nothing but Keralima. That is zero size. It is Keralima actives. And when I went to USA and when I asked in drugstore, what is the cost? 30 pills, $22. But the whole USA, you don't get Keralima at all. Whereas in India, you get this particular Arabia, Africa, dry areas you get, but America and Europe, you don't get this plant. But it comes from this plant, and people don't get share of benefit. So point is that why don't you utilize this particular, is $1 billion business. Risk-free, suppresses your appetite. You can see there, risk-free trial. They say risk-free trial. Slima luma. Remember, Slima luma. Zero size. Next slide, please. So point is, there are many such, what I'm talking is biodiversity, uses. uses. You can think of uses. About a sample example on it. There are there are thousands and lakhs of such plants, animals, organisms, etc., which are useful to the man and to the. But that is more in tropical countries. As I told you, 1,700 million hectares of tropical forest consumed only 7% area, but more than 50% species. Next slide, please. Yeah. Well, let me come back to another plant. This is called as Strychnos potatorum. Next slide. This Strychnos potatorum belongs to the family Loggianiaceae. Next slide, please. This fruit seeds. Next slide, please. Yeah, hold on. This plant, back, please. Back. Yeah, okay, hold on. Yeah, next slide. Front. Yeah. Yes, hold on. Well, tribal people in Eastern Ghats, for example, they collect water, drinking water from streams only, even Western Ghats also. But in rainy season, this water becomes muddy and it is not clean. So what the tribals do? Tribals collect muddy water, put in earthen vessel. They make powder or paste of this particular seeds called as cleaning nuts. Remember, this name itself is cleaning nut. Chillaginjalu in Telugu. They make the powder or paste of it. They thoroughly mix this powder or paste and they leave it for a couple of hours. And by that time, it's all your soil material, earth material, along with bacteria, virus settle down. You get clean water. Why do you use? Bombay Municipal Corporation is purchasing 20,000 tons of these seeds to clean the water of Bombay Municipality. Remember, Municipal Corporation. Why do you use RO water? You can use Chillaginjala, this particular Strychnos potatorum. It's a bioflocculant. So what I'm talking is there are many plants. There are 2,000 species in Western Ghats. Karnataka is sitting on a gold mine of 2,000 endemic plants. 5,000 species are there in Western Ghats, of which 2,000 species are endemic. They occur nowhere else. You can bioprospecting. I'm talking about, for example, here this is bioflocculant. Next slide, please. Next slide. So point is, you can use such plants, This is your brooms. Many of you may not be knowing, broom comes from this plant called as Aristidas cetacea. Aristidas cetacea is a grass. You can see there the length of the broom. So the point is, biodiversity is useful not only in Western countries but also for our own uses, like this plant. But when the forest grows, remember this plant also goes. So tomorrow all plastic will come and plastic this is degradable, whereas plastic is not degradable. When you use a plastic, brooms tomorrow and after say 100 years, you may use plastic and then it becomes a problem on it. So use natural material. This is called as Aristidas cetacea. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now coming back to documentation. Pakistan has a flora, Sri Lanka has a flora, Malaysia has a flora, China has a flora, but India flora, modern India is not there. What we are reading is a flora, British India, which was written in 1860 to 1887. That is almost 150 years back. Shocking. BSI, there are so many botanists who are visiting to me are there, but flora of India is there. Botanical of India says there are 33 volumes they are publishing, and only 8 volumes have come, but not it. Similarly, Karnataka, before he died, Saldana, Professor Saldana has published 2 volumes, but now 3rd volume has not come. Thanks to Professor from Indian Institute of Science, Shankar Rao and his team, and one of my students, they brought out the digital flora or online flora of Karnataka. So you can see now the online flora. This is, so it was not there earlier. So point is, one such scientist is J.S. Gamble of British India. He wrote Flora Presidency of Madras, which was published between 1915 and 1936. He was a forest officer. Next one, please. Next one, please. So point is, when we started work, we published flora of Andhra Pradesh, and we revised also once again this particular flora, and we published and revised 5 volumes. Well, Aichi target says by 2020 all the floras must be online, but 2020 has already come. Aichi target has not been fulfilled. Not even online. Remember, even books also have not come. Horrible. This is under India. BSI, there are at least 5,000 personnel in BSI Only 8 volumes have come. Next one, please. We have published like that, So what I am talking is, all of you should take interest in inventorying, your own area. What are the many districts in Karnataka don't have a district flora. Next slide, please. How much time? Yeah, there is. Yes, let me go faster. So next, this is flora of Western Ghats, like that. We are bringing next slide, please. Go. Since it is high pixels, it takes time for changing the slide. Yeah, this is revised flora of Andhra Pradesh. Next slide, please. Yeah, volume 2. Next. Volume 5, 3, 4, 5. Next slide, please. Yeah, well, this is flora of Andhra Pradesh. Let me go because it is Andhra Pradesh only. Next one, please. Similarly, our student has brought online flora. Next one, please. Well, this is for Andhra. Yeah, dominant families in Andhra Pradesh. We brought out like this. Next one, please. Go on. Yeah, these are the dominant genera in Andhra Pradesh. Those who are listening from Andhra Pradesh, these are the dominant genera. Next one, please. Yeah, we also brought out flora of trees of Andhra Pradesh, pteridophytes of Andhra Pradesh. We brought out bryophytes of Andhra Pradesh also, as I was telling. Next slide, please. Go. Yes, we brought out 7 district floras. These are some of the district floras in Andhra Pradesh. Of course, some of things have gone out to Telangana. So we brought out flora of Telangana also. Next slide, please. A little faster. Yes, medicinal plants. We brought out. We are now bringing out. Next slide, please. Go. A little faster. Yeah, Biodiversity India, 8 volumes we brought out. Next slide. Yeah, we brought out global. Yes, 5 volumes. This is volume 2. Next. Yeah, we also brought out. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, next photograph. Next slide. Yes, hold on. Back, please. Well, when I went to USA and Europe, I found that my books are there in all major US libraries or all European libraries. This is in New York Botanical Garden. And when I said, I am Professor T. Kulayasar, she searched the system and said, your books are there in our library. The left side lady is a librarian and right side lady is assistant librarian. And she brought some of the books which are in the library. You can find all my books in the biggest library in the world, in Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. You can find all my books in Royal Botanical Gardens Kew. You can find in Missouri Botanical Garden. I counted every book in my library. Now, of course, as Grace was telling, we publish 75 books. But if you take each volume as one book, we publish 116 books. We are now publishing a book, a 36-volume book on biodiversity hotspots, 10-volume book on medicinal plants. So this is for this. Now I am checking the proof of first 2 volumes of 10-volume book on medicinal plants. So point is, we are purchasing, and why these people are purchasing our books? Because our resources, our plant resources, not because of Pulaya. It's because of plant resources. Next one, please. This is New York Botanical Garden. Next one, please. Now you can go. Yeah. Well, animals. Remember here. Well, I talked only about, because since I am a botanist, I talked only about plants. Let me come to animals. Remember, in 1900, there were at least 40,000 tigers in India. Remember, 1990, 40,000 tigers. But by 2016, there were only 11 tigers. Imagine. But they took Project Tiger. Of course, now it is slowly increasing. Because government of India is very strict. Forest officers are taken to task if tiger dies. So slowly it is increasing. But 40,000 tigers and 11 tigers. Imagine. So point is, similarly, lion. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. Well, you can see here there is a tortoise. Back, please. Start. Yeah. Hold on. This tortoise, they are smuggling from Bangalore airport 1 lakh rupees this specimen. Imagine, because it is being grown as a pest. This is a golden gecko, an endemic animal. Well, these are photographs not from internet. Remember, these are the photographs which we worked also on fauna. I worked also on flora and fauna of Tummalpalli area, and we have taken these photographs. This is very common in Western Ghats, but being smuggled. Bangalore airport often they are catching this, which is being exported to the Southeast Asian countries to use as pet. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Go. You can go now faster. Yeah, these are the animals. Next. Yeah, this is a king cobra. Don't say that snakes are poisonous. Not all snakes. After 30 snakes in Anantapur, only 4 snakes are poisonous. Snakes are useful animals to us because they kill rats, and rats, remember, if we don't kill rats, they'll consume our food. So point is, we caught 660 snakes in SKU campus in 1.5 years and left in the forest. Don't kill snakes. Remember, only 4 snakes out of 30 are poisonous, 26 are not poisonous. So don't kill them. You leave them and they will go on its own. In fact, they are not harmful as such. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Oh, I'm thirsty. I'm drinking water. Remember. But of late, many of the youngsters are drinking Pepsi, Coca-Cola, thumbs up. But remember, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, if you see the bottle there, no fruit juices, no calories, no, but they don't mention what is there in the plant, in the bottle. Bottle has chlorpyrifos and quinalphos. If you drink daily 1 bottle of 2200 ml of Pepsi or Coca-Cola thumbs up, after 1 year you test it, you get cancer. Remember, then you may say, they are spending 300 crores on advertisement and taking out to America 10,000 crores of rupees from our country. You may ask me, don't drink. I said don't drink. Then you may ask me what to drink. Why? Nimbu pani, citrus juice, any lemon, lime, orange, sweet lime. You can drink. They are vitamin C. You can be beautiful also because it is antioxidant. There is another plant called as Decalapis hamiltoni, Nannare, Magali Beko, Nannare. This is called as Decalapis hamiltoni. It is available only in India, nowhere else in the world. Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, only here. And it is a 3-hydroxy-4-methoxybenzaldehyde, and it is highly medicinal. It is antioxidant, anti-cancerous, anti-obesity, many blood purifying characters. This is called as Decalapis hamiltoni. It's relative in Amidas indicus also has this 4-methoxybenzaldehyde, 3-hydroxy-4-methoxybenzaldehyde. So this is medicine. Why don't you promote our own fruits or seeds or roots, etc. For example, coconuts. Why do you drink, Pepsi or Coca-Cola? Why don't you drink, coconuts, so that our own farmers get benefit out of this? Next slide, please. Next slide. So point is, yeah, this is the Hemidesmus indicus. Yeah, go. Yeah, go. Yeah, no problem. These are new species which we described our students. Next plan. This is Euphorbia catapensis. Next slide, please. So yeah, this is Incosia ravi, our students described. So what I am talking is, next slide. So many species have been described. Yeah, this is Brachystella nalamayana. Next one, please. You can see the beauty of Brachystemas. Yeah, this is Penchelaconense. Only 2 plants are available in the whole Penchelacona. The fruits have not been described. Next one, please. We wrote a book published by CRC Press. Yeah, this is Carolima umbellata. Carolima lasiantha has stripes, but this has no. Right, next one, please. Yeah, this is, you can see this, Bosserosia indica or Carolima indica. Next one, please. I think Indu, somewhere we have to stop because already it is 12:35. We'll stop here. Yeah. Close this screen sharing and then we'll ask for questions, anything. Because already I exceeded one hour. Right? Indu? Or you can minimize it. Yeah, any questions, please? I'll stop here. Yes, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Any questions? Yes, this is Carolina sarkaria is endemic. Yeah, go just yeah, fast like that. Just to show you diversity. Yes. Let me hold on. There are 36 hotspots in the world, and we are writing 36 volume book. Western Ghats already we are submitting this week. We already submitted, but they asked for revision, so we submitted. Well, this Western Ghats is one of the 36 biodiversity hotspots in the world, and we are publishing all the 36 volumes. Well, we are publishing also 3rd volume book on medicinal plants. Next slide, please. Any questions in the place? Yeah, these are the, yes, you can see there. Western Ghats, Sri Lanka, Indo-Burma, then there is Sundaland also. There is one more, and then Himalayan region. Right, next one, please. Next slide, please. Like that, go. I think, we can stop somewhere here. Stop here. I think you can stop and then shoot questions.
Thank you,
Right,
sir.
minimize. Yeah, we'll ask our participants to ask questions. Pulaya.thammineni@gmail.com. Please remember, I repeat, PULLAIH.thammineni@gmail.com. First slide is there. Our mobile is 94405056664. I repeat, 94405056664. Pulaya.thammineni@gmail.com. We are writing lots of books. Those of you are interested to collaborate with us to writing books. In fact, Anuradha, the principal of Padma Shri Institute of Management Sciences, we published 2 books on red sanders and then sandalwood, published by Springer. But now since she is principal and busy, she could not collaborate in other books, but we are interested in it. So those of you who are interested to want to collaborate, I have at least 100 books in my mind. So you are most welcome to collaborate with us in writing books. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anuradha, Dr. Indu, Dr. Grace, for giving me an opportunity. Thanks to all of the participants or listeners who have a patient hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir,
please.
for delivering an effective talk, sir, on biodiversity and conservation. As our country is rich in diversity, we have heard many plants and we have seen many plants that you have projected us, sir. Thank you so much. The class was very informative, sir. On behalf of our
Thank you.
college, I thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and delivering the talk, sir.
Yeah. If there are questions, you can either here or later on also you can send to my email or mobile number. So you project
Yes,
my mobile or other things so that they can send questions. No problem at all. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Indu ma'am?
Yes, we'll end the program. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, Indu.
Okay, sir.
Thank
Convey
you
my
so
thanks
much, sir.
to Anuradha also. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a great day. And I thank all the participants who participated in this meeting.
Yeah, we'll be sharing later the feedback form. So I'll end the session now.